to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. In this episode, we're going to be looking at 10 of the most iconic terraces in football stadiums around the world. And what is it that makes them special? On the podcast, we've spoken about over 300 players, and some of those have spoken about the incredible times they've scored goals at particular ends in front of particular terraces in particular football stadiums all around the globe, like the Kop at Liverpool. Or they've spoken about how intimidating the yellow wall is at Borussia Dortmund, or how deafening the sound is in the north end at the Boca Juniors Stadium, Bombonera. Football stadiums almost always have a particular stand which is the most electric, the most iconic, and in this episode we're going to be looking at 10 of the biggest and the best ones in history, both from the past and the ones which are still going today. This is a 3-part episode. Part 2 and 3 will be on Patreon and on Apple Podcast subscription shortly after this, and they will never make it onto the main podcast. So if you want to listen to those ones, then you will need to be a super listener or a club captain on Patreon or on Apple Podcast subscription. But before we get into part 1 of 3, I've got a couple of shout outs and messages to do. Firstly, a massive happy birthday to 9-year-old Ayub, who will be 9 actually, on the 25th of August. I know that you are a massive Ronaldo fan and you're also a huge fan of the Football for Kids podcast. So thank you so much, Ayub, for being a listener, and I hope you have a wonderful, brilliant, fantastic birthday. A very, very happy birthday to you. Also, another birthday on this podcast is to a huge Manchester City fan who plays for the Raptors with his school friends Eddie and Ollie, and was Player of the Year last season and top scorer last season. He loves playing football with his brother Ruben in the garden. Ruben loves the podcast too, so a massive shout out to you, Ruben. And they both join in the intro every single evening, which is hello and welcome. You can just imagine them doing it. And the person I'm speaking about is Hugo, who turns 9 on the 28th of August. So, Hugo, who plays for the Raptors, the Manchester City fan, who's got a brother called Ruben, a massive happy birthday to you on the 28th of August, and a huge shout out to your brother and your family and everybody else who listens to the podcast. Right, that's all we've got time for in this episode when it comes to birthday shout-outs this time round. So a massive happy birthday to Hugo on the 28th of August, and a huge happy birthday also to Ayub on the 25th of August. Both of those boys are turning 9 years old. Right then, let's get on with it, shall we? Let's get into part 1 of this very special mini-series on football stands and terraces, iconic ones from all around the world. First off, let's head north, and not just a little north, we're going all the way to Bonnie, Scotland, to a place called Parkhead in Glasgow. That's where you'll find Celtic Park, the proud home of Celtic Football Club. It's an absolute giant of a stadium with a capacity of over 60,000. Now, Celtic Park is often called Paradise by the Celtic faithful, and the stand we're looking at sits at the east end of the ground. Right behind one of the goals it is. This is no ordinary stand though. Oh no, this is the Lisbon Lions Stand. And you might be wondering, who on earth are the Lisbon Lions? Well, they weren't a group of circus animals that escaped from a Portugal zoo, although that would make a brilliant book. They were in fact the legendary Celtic team who, in 1967, became the first British club ever to win the European Cup. They did it in Lisbon, Portugal, hence the nickname. And get this, every single player in that team was born within 30 miles of Glasgow. Imagine that, local lads taking on Europe and coming back as kings. Well, that was the Lisbon Lions, and that is why that stand has got that name. And today it's a home to some of Celtic's loudest, most passionate supporters, and in particular it's a place where you'll find a group called the Green Brigade. They're what you might call the hardcore fans, the ultras. Not hardcore like eating cold Brussels sprouts for breakfast, but hardcore in the sense of singing, drumming, waving flags and creating an incredible atmosphere. And let me tell you, that stand got even better in the 2016-17 season, when Celtic introduced something called safe standing in this part of the ground. Normally, fans in modern stadiums all sit down, but in the Lisbon Lions stands, there's a special section that allows fans to safely stand together, side by side, belting songs out and bouncing in unison. It means the atmosphere goes from loud to louder than a jumbo jet taking off. When Celtic score, that end creates such a roar that you could probably hear it all the way to Edinburgh. Or maybe even Newcastle if the wind's blowing the right direction. Okay, maybe not that far, but if you were there, you'd probably think it could. So, there you go, the Lisbon Lions Stand. It isn't just a stand, it's a living, singing, chanting history lesson. It honours one of Celtic's greatest ever teams, and it gives today's players a wall of noise that spurs them on like you wouldn't ever believe. Next up, we're heading all the way to Argentina, to one of the most colourful football clubs in the world, Boca Juniors. And if you've listened to the show before, you'll know that I've already made a whole episode about their famous home, the bright blue and yellow La Bombonera, the name which means the chocolate box in Spanish, because the steep boxy shape of a stadium looks, well, a bit like a chocolate box. Although, I should warn you, if you ever bite into the La Bombonera, you'll probably break your teeth. La Bombonera has been Boca's home since 1940, and if you listen to the episode I did on it, you can learn so much more. It's one of the most distinctive stadiums anywhere in the world. The north stand rises up so steeply, it feels like the fans are stacked on top of each other. It's like a giant human Jenga tower. This makes the sound echo and bounce around, and it's so loud that when visiting teams are on the pitch, they get this thought in their head of, I wish I was playing somewhere else. Now, the stand we're focusing on in this episode is the one which is behind one of the goals, which is commonly known as the North Stand. And listen, if you think football crowds are noisy wherever you go and wherever you live, just wait until you hear about this place. On match day, the North Stand is the most feverish, electric, jump up and down, wave your shirt around section of all time. Why? It's because the Boca's most passionate fans all gather there together. They're a group known as loudest, which means the 12th man in Spanish. The idea is, while there are 11 players on the pitch, I don't need to tell you that, the supporters in the North Stand are so important that they've been titled the 12th man. Imagine thousands of voices singing at once, drums pounding like thunder, and banners swooping down from the top tier like a giant colourful curtain. The whole stand feels alive. It's part theatre and part carnival. Oh, and let's not get it twisted, it's part earthquake as well. Players have said that when Boca score, the stand literally shakes. The floor outside the stadium rumbles, and the science backs that up. Studies have shown that the La Bombonera can physically vibrate when fans are jumping in unison. So, the North Stand at Boca Juniors isn't just a place to watch football, it's where the heart of a club beats the loudest, where La Doce turns a game into a festival, and where opponents sometimes discover that the most intimidating part of the match isn't the Boca team on the pitch, but it's the wall of noise behind that goal. The North Stand at La Bombonera in Argentina is our second stand on this special mini-series of the best and the most iconic terraces all around the world. Now, lastly, let's jump on a plane and make sure you've packed your pizza and your pasta money, because we're off to Italy, to one of the most legendary football stadiums that's ever been built. Have you guessed where it is? If you said the San Siro in Milan, you would have got it correct. It's officially called something else, which I'm not going to try and give it a go, because you know that my pronunciations aren't fantastic, but everyone knows it as the San Siro, so we're going to stick to the San Siro. This is a stadium which is so special, it almost deserves a whole episode by itself. Actually, scrap that, it probably deserves 2 episodes, maybe even a trilogy. It's enormous, it's beautiful, and it's even steeped in history. And here's something quite unusual. It's shared by 2 of Europe's most famous clubs, AC Milan and Inter Milan. It's like 2 brothers who don't always get along having to share a bedroom. Because of that, the San Siro doesn't just have one famous end, it has 2. First, let's talk about Inter Milan's end, the Curva Nord, which means the North Curve. This is the home of Inter's Ultras. Oh, and by the way, if you weren't sure, Ultras is basically the nickname for the most crazy, passionate, loud fans that you could possibly think of. The hardcore fans who bang the drums, who wave the banners and lead the singing. Inter's Curva Nord have been the beating heart of their support since the 1960s, when the club was enjoying huge success in Italy and in Europe under legendary managers and with humongous legends of the game who played for them at that historic time. Back then, Inter were nicknamed La Grande Inter, the Great Inter, because they were winning league titles in European Cups like there was no tomorrow. And the atmosphere in that stand was second to none. Today, the Inter Ultras still pack that stand with dazzling displays and humongous noise. And yes, lots of pyrotechnics, flares and smokes are pretty much a regular thing at that end of the stadium. Now on to the other side of the ground, you've got AC Milan's end, the Curva Sud, the South Curve. This is where AC Milan's most passionate supporters gather together, just like their neighbours. They know how to put on a show. That side of the ground, that end of the ground, that stand is incredibly famous for being incredibly loud and organised, with ultras who coordinate the chants, wave enormous flags and create jaw-dropping choreographies. Before the biggest games on Derby Day, they are special. They really put on a show. When you pay to go to the San Siro to watch AC Milan, you aren't just watching those fantastic players, you're watching that stand and what it's all about. The huge flags, the enormous noise, the chants in unison. It is something moving and special. So, at the San Siro, you don't just get one famous stand, you get 2. The Curva Nord for Inter and the Curva Sud for AC Milan. Each with their own traditions, songs and style, each with their own identity. And together, they help make the San Siro one of the most iconic stadiums in the world. That brings part 1 to an end. If you'd like to listen to part 2 and 3, and you're already a super listener or a club captain, then keep your eyes peeled, because you're going to hear about all sorts of other stadiums and terraces from all over the world. Part 2 and 3 coming up on Patreon and on Apple Podcast subscription for super listeners and club captains very, very soon. If you'd like to become a member, then please click the link in the bio or just click on subscribe on Apple Podcast and you will be able to do that there and get access to all the other episodes which are exclusive and never coming onto the main podcast, and every single episode is available ad-free. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I am now in the place where you can get personalised videos from all of your favourite celebrities, content creators and podcasters like me. If there is someone you want a personalised message for, a personalised shout out, a birthday message, or just something funny, search for Darren Rees Football for Kids on the Cameo app now.